Shiva mythologies, because Isis, Osiris, Shiva, we're still talking about the same duality of male and female in the interaction of love. And so we got this ancient mythology that can explain all of this. The Pravati, which is the aspect of Isis or even Mayat in East India, they talk about a dice game that both Shiva and Pravati engage in. And as a result, Pravati wins the dice game. And I'll try to explain what this is about. In this particular book called coming from Oxford University, The God Inside Out, Shiva's Game of Dice, by Don Handelman and David Schulman. Don Handelman and David Schulman. In this particular book, it says this book offers a new explanation of mythology of the Hindu god Shiva, who spends time playing dice with his wife, whom he habitually loses. The result of this game is our world, which turns the god inside out and changes his initial or his eternal, composition. And it goes on to say how he is so much engaged in this game that he eventually loses perpetually. Now, why is that? He loses perpetually because he can never truly, being a male, win out over woman. Because when he fights with woman, he's fighting with his own internal self. Being that the Kundalini energy or the sexual energy inside of us, which is the energy that catapults us up the chakra system, is a feminine energy. So that's why man has to, in his own right, get in touch with his feminine forces or feminine side, and in doing so, he can conquer or synthesize this overwhelming thing that we call love. That we call love. And I guess that's the reason why I said earlier that women are smarter than men, that they are trained on this love thing from a child, and it is a lot easier for them to accept it or even recognize it at first when it first hits and don't fight against it. And so I think that's what this thing of Shiva, you losing the dice game, is that ultimately she's always going to be one step ahead. But then again, on the other hand, that is great because she is the initiator of these particular mysteries. If man initiates, they say a lot of time, matters of the mind and knowledge, woman initiates matters of the soul. And that's the difference in a nutshell. But Pravati, which is the Shakti power that is inside of the vital essence of us as sexual beings, it goes to say, and I'll quote, that Pravati, her energy goes all the way back to the beginning of creation. Now I want to quote this. It's in the book, The Presence of Shiva. And they say that her energy goes all the way back to the beginning of creation. Pravati's energy. And I want to see what this thing is talking about here. Okay. It says, and I'm going to get this right. Trying to see here. Here it is. Let's see if we got this right. Page 349. You all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, page 349. So it's going to work out. It says no. Okay. It's working, man. Huh? You gotta take it. Now, they're talking about the goddess Primordial of Aset. This is very important, this particular part about Primordial. They're saying that her very soul, the soul of this beautiful woman, which has a lot to do with black women in general. It goes to say in the book, The Presence of Shiva, that Primordial, her soul goes all the way back to the time before creation, before the great fall. Before the great fall. We good on the sound? Before the great sound fall. Which means if we as black people, man and woman, black man and black woman, tap into our true essence of our souls, then our souls would end up being a primordial energy that existed before creation. Now I try to understand this, and I try to set up what's going on with the white man and the civilization on what they know. A soul is a sun. When we fall in love, it is the expression or the energy of the soul that we are experiencing. It's the awakening of the soul. And the love is the result of the awakening of the soul, either for a small glimpse in time or a major glimpse. But when our souls wake up, unlike other races, because we are the original people, that means that very well there could be a few human beings or two human beings that can possess aspect. There is a black woman in America that has a pussy that was in existence before the creation of time. You see. And a black man that has a dick that was in existence before the creation of time. And it is the government to make sure that even if you come together economically, socially, you see what I'm saying? You will be at odds and you will be in such a struggle. You see what I'm saying? That you will never be able to tap into that higher self. Or, if you got too much money, that's still a distraction. Because you will be forever, number one, trying to keep it, or number one, trying to see what you can buy, or number one, thinking that in actuality you are bored because you have missed the point that you had it all before the money, and the money can never bring you things. So it's always some kind of confusion that's actually going, that's actually going down. You see, even to the point we get this particular book by Crowley called Atlantis, one of the few books that they don't print. And ironically, they print a lot of his stuff, but they don't print this particular book. It's a small book. It would be cheaper to produce, but they don't print it for the mere fact that he said that the word Atlantis means the black woman on the second page of the book. You see, which means that if we are the ones to love, we will tap into our primordial selves. And by doing that, we can change this shit. You see, we can change this thing. I'll give you some clarity on that in a minute. something to do with Krishna and Radha. Now, Krishna goes with Radha. Radha is a married woman. Well, first of all, someone said, well, man, what kind of religion is that? That the fundamental hero or the Christ figure in the religion will be going with a married woman. First of all, they're not talking about moralism. Number two, because moralism is political and has nothing to do with spiritual. Number two things is happening. Number one, Krishna is a god, so he is not on the level of moralism. He is the Godhead. Number two, Radha is trapped in a marriage that is a social marriage that can function based on the laws and the governments of man, but it's not a spiritual marriage, so it can ultimately never go anywhere, but just on the social level. Krishna comes in and frees her. But how is this done? How is it done? This is another book you can get called David R. Kinsley's book, The Sword and the Flute, by David R. Kinsley. Well, number one, this love has a lot to do because by her being married, they don't have a lot of time together. They know that the time that they have to spend together is not spread out, it's intense. You know, it's intense. So they don't have a lot of time to be wasting when it comes to this love that they have, where they have distractions because they're just this regular couple. You see what I'm saying? It's got a whole lot of time on their hand. When they come together, it's extremely intense. And it's intense because they know that time is the factor. She cannot be with him the whole time. So by it being so intense, they go into a realm of bliss. And by going into a realm of bliss, they create something outside of the ordinary love, which is this alternative dimension that even in the text, some of the people or the whole society that surrounds them shares in this bliss, in this enchanted world that they have built, which is the hereafter. See, same story on how this thing is done. So they know, the government again knows, that if we get a certain amount of black people to really tap into this primordial essence called love, the true love, not the one that society says, one that is beyond money, material things, and beyond life itself. If they can get one to tap into that love, then it will create an entire society and a dimension around those two lovers that the entire community, in this particular case, the primordial beings, the original people, will benefit from by destroying the matrix. And this is what Krishna and Radha does in the text. At first, she sneaks off at night into the enchanted forest to be with him. Then it gets to the point where, and then not only that, when she cannot be with him, she sets up this longing for him that generates more energy. So sometimes longing is great, you see, because it generates more energy. So when they come together again, the energy is even stronger than when they were before. And each time they are building sections into this new world of the bringing in this energy into this new world. So it's almost like having this corrupt, illusionary, fallen world. And these two souls come together, which represent, if this world is a globe and we're on the inside of the globe, or a balloon, and it's a fallen balloon, a globe, and these two souls would represent two pinpoints or needles in the balloon. And although the balloon is tough enough not to burst, each time they come together, the hole gets bigger and bigger, and light comes comes in and shines into the troubled world, then later on, the troubled world, when the hole gets big enough, it explodes. And they are into a whole new realm. This is what we're talking about here today. More than just male and female relationship. We're talking about the metaphysics of this shit transforming our people. You see what I'm saying? This is what we're talking about here. And that's what happened with the Christian Rada story.
I'm going to ask you 3 questions.